Over the past 100 years, transnational sporting events have become a common occurrence in the world of sport. While the number of countries participating in such events are in the hundreds, only a few locations have been selected to host them. Current visualizations related to the Olympics primarily focus on the medal counts obtained by each country. While media reports do exist of abandoned stadiums and racecourses, there are no publicly accessible visualizations or studies of the economic impact of the Olympics. Much of the analysis is done just by looking at the raw data. This visualization was designed to help government officials who are interested in exploring if hosting the Olympics would be economically beneficial to their country. Our goal is not to lead our users against or in favor of hosting the Olympics, but to provide them with the opportunity to explore the socio-economic impact the Olympics can have on a country. There are many important socio-economic indicators needed for a country to succeed. We focused on population percentages between the ages of 0 to 14, the percentage of the population between ages 15 to 65, CO2 emissions, unemployment, and gross domestic income. These variables' visualization is separated into 5 different sections: the drop-down menu, a bubble chart, a bar chart, a line graph, and an explanation. Choosing from the drop-down changes the bubble and bar charts, and selecting the bars alters the line chart. The landing page of our visualization shows a bubble chart representing host countries from 1960 to the present. The color of the bubble corresponds to the population size of the country. These bubbles will be formatted so they form a visual metaphor of a map. Once our users select a variable from a drop-down menu, the size of the bubbles dynamically changes to reflect the updated value for each country at the year they hosted the Olympics. Users can use a legend to filter the bubble chart so that only data from countries of a certain size will be shown. This feature allows users to search through the data concerning countries which are demographically similar to their own. Rendered below the bubble chart is a bar and line chart. This interaction was inspired by Ben Schneiderman's mantra: overview first, zoom and filter, and details on demand. The bar chart shows the data of a given variable at 3 separate time intervals. One bar represents data from 10 years prior to the Olympics, the second shows data from the year the Olympics were hosted, and the third shows data from 10 years post-Olympics. Users can filter the data down by clicking on the legend and removing a time period. This will help reduce visual clutter while still providing. Users can click on different countries in the bar chart and populate the line graph below. The lines will represent data for a given variable over the time period from 1960 to 2014. In order to prevent visual clutter, they can select which countries they want to display. Users can hover over the lines and bring up a tooltip showing the value of the variable for a given year. A scrubber was included to allow users to further select variables along a given range of interest. Looking at some of the questions we had analyzing the raw data, let's see if we can answer them. To provide an example that could help answer the first question on long-term economic benefits, let's look at a scenario. Say we are government officials in a small country who are interested in investigating the GDI of countries with similar populations. From the bubble chart, we can see that Spain and South Korea have similar population and indicator sizes, which would make them ideal countries to compare ours to. Selecting those countries from the bar chart results in a detailed line view that we can zoom in to see a clearer view of their hosting years. From the table on the left, we can see that South Korea hosted in 1988 and Spain in 1992. Zooming into these years allows us to see that the GDI continued to increase at a steady rate from the period following the Olympics until 1997. Interestingly enough, Spain's GDI decreased slightly for a year after the Olympics, but continued to rise from then on out. So it seems that the economic benefits may increase for a certain number of years, but we cannot predict when this increase will end. We did notice that GDI increased for all countries the Olympics and 10 years following the Olympics. Now let's look at an example of the short-term effects. Looking at Australia's unemployment data showed a steady decrease in unemployment. We then dive deeper into the data and we can see that there are some local peaks and valleys. One of these valleys occurred in 2000, which was the year when Australia hosted the Olympics. This could be a result in the increased need for short-term employment in order to support the Olympics. In 2001, the unemployment rate returned to the value it occupied in 1999. This is further When looking at our data through the visualization, we found a number of these interesting findings. Another eye-opening finding was that for most of the countries, emissions did not fluctuate at or around the Games. The only exception was South Korea, whose emissions drastically increased before the Olympics and after. Originally, we believed this was due to a decrease in industry or the implementation of better environmental policies. However, looking at the infrastructure line graph, we can see that manufacturing is actually increasing, which would leave us with the possibility of better policies as a viable option. Based on the insights gleaned from using the visualization, we will help these government officials formulate more detailed analytic questions, such as, how will hosting the Olympics impact the unemployment rate in my country? We designed this visualization to accommodate for the addition of other indicators or subcategories. This would be an addition added in the future to allow users to narrow down between certain indicators to look at even more data. This could be done by adding another dropdown and advance the curiosity and exploration of this data.